Have you got the skills you need to lead your team and accomplish your goals? Let's find out. Welcome back, and congratulations on taking one more step towards becoming one of the great leaders of tomorrow. Today we're going to take a little bit of a break from the deep personal reflection we've been doing and focus on something a little more straightforward and practical. And that's determining the types of skills you feel like you need to have to be an effective leader and evaluating how good you are at those skills. Now, the set of skills any leader has is unique based on their mission, vision, and situation. And it's going to be up to you to determine the set of skills that you need to be an effective leader. And there are some common ones that you see among great leaders, like public speaking, time management, and problem solving. And I would recommend adding these to your list to get you started. At this point, you may be asking, what's the difference between a skill and a trait? And that's a really fair question because the line between them gets a little blurry sometimes. The way I look at skills is that there's something that's more like an intellectual pursuit, something that you can learn through study and practice, whereas a trait is something a little more internal and personal. And while it requires practice to develop a trait, it's something much more emotional and requires a lot of self-reflection and behavior modification to really make into a solid trait. For example, if you wanted to build a strong trait of being organized and focused, you could work on organizational skills like time management and practice those skills in order to modify your behavior to really develop those traits of being organized and focused into strong ones that are part of your leadership style. So let's do a little exercise that'll help you figure out the skills you're good at and the skills you might need to work on. I'm assuming you're already pretty good at the job you're doing now, so I want you to think about the next job you would like to have. And I want you to think about the ideal person for that job and the set of skills that that person has that makes them so good at getting that job done. So once you've got your ideal person in mind for the job that you want to have and the set of skills you feel like they need to have to be successful at it, list those skills in descending order of priority so that the most important skill is at the top and the least important skill is at the bottom of your list. Don't forget about interpersonal and soft skills too, such as communication or negotiation, because those can be very important, especially in leadership positions. Once you've got your prioritized list done, rate yourself on each of these skills from 1 to 5. 1 being you need a lot of work in this skill, 3 meaning you're about average at it, and 5 meaning you're among the best people you know of at this skill. If you want to gather some additional info about how you rate on these skills, go ask a few coworkers or even your boss to rate you on these skills and factor that into your assessment as well. Now look at the top 10 skills in your list. If you've got fewer than 10, don't worry about it, just work with the list you've got. And find the 2 skills in your top 10 that have the lowest ratings. Also find 1 skill on your list that you'd be really excited about developing further. So in the example I've done here, you might choose public speaking and giving feedback for skills to work on, and you might choose negotiation as a skill that really interests you, that you'd want to develop further. And what we're going to have you do is focus on developing these skills for the next 3 months. As we've talked about before, great leaders treat leadership as a discipline to be studied and reflected upon throughout their careers and even their entire lives. One of my favorite quotes about leadership comes from John F. Kennedy, and it's, "Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other." Taking a hard look at the skills you feel like you need to advance your career as a leader, and then taking action to grow and develop those skills is the best step you can take today to begin that lifelong study and practice of leadership as a discipline. Tell us in the comments what you think the most important skills for leaders to have are. And if you've got questions about doing the exercise, let us know. We'll be glad to help you out. Come back later in the week. We're going to have a blog post that talks about ways you can develop your skills now that you've identified the ones that you want to grow. And the best way to get that, click on that globe off to the right. That'll let you subscribe to our email list, and that'll bring all of our content direct to your inbox. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember, the future is out there.
What to work on in our lifelong study of leadership? Today we'll help you create the roadmap. Welcome back, and congratulations on taking one more step towards becoming one of the great leaders of tomorrow. We're focusing on development and education in September here at Evil Genius Leadership because we believe great leadership is a discipline that requires lifelong study and self-reflection. There are so many ideas and concepts to explore in leadership, and figuring out what to learn about next can be overwhelming. Today we're going to help you build the outline of a leadership development plan that can be like your roadmap that guides you through the most important topics to help you become the leader you want to be. The leadership development plan is something you put together yourself that highlights the kind of leader you want to be, assesses how you're doing reaching that goal, and documents concrete action steps you're going to take to get there. To build our plans, we're going to be drawing on some of the work we've done in other videos, so if you'd like to check out the videos on core values, leadership traits, leadership skills, and setting goals, feel free to go back and watch them before you continue with this video. So let's get our plan started by getting an idea of what our goals are. Take your goals, whatever they are, and break them down into near, mid, and long-term goals. I like to use the time frame of right now to 2 years from now as the short term, 2 to 5 years as the midterm, and 5 to 10 years as the long term, but you can choose whatever time frames suit you best. As examples, you may pick getting a job at a company you've always wanted to work at as a short-term goal, become a manager or executive at that company as a midterm goal, and starting your own business in that same field as a long-term goal. Make sure to include personal goals in this plan as well. Even though we're calling it a leadership development plan, it'll certainly help get your life organized as a whole if you include any goals you have about family, community, or even great life experiences you want to have in your plan. Now that we've got our goals defined, we have to take a hard look at the traits and skills we'll need to have to make those goals a reality. If you've already got your list of key leadership traits and skills completed from a previous exercise, go ahead and start plugging those in under the goals you feel they're important to achieving. In our example of starting a business in 5 to 10 years, let's say we need some traits like creativity, dedication, and inspiring others, and some skills like sales, marketing, and some basic accounting to run the business. Now, some of these skills may also be really beneficial to us in our midterm goal of becoming a manager, so let's include them under that goal as well. Fill in the traits and skills you feel you need to achieve every goal in all 3 of your categories. Now comes the really tough part, doing some honest self-assessment about how good we are at the traits and skills we feel like we need to have to achieve our goals. Sometimes we're too hard or soft on ourselves when it comes to these kinds of assessments, so if you feel like you're having a hard time objectively assessing the areas you're really great in and the areas you could use some work in, ask a friend or trusted colleague to give you their opinion. Once you have a really good idea of the traits and skills you need to work on or want to work on, sometimes we're pretty good at something but feel like it'd be beneficial to really become an expert at it, now we need to write down some concrete action steps we can take to build those traits and skills and map out when we need to complete those steps by. Going back to our example, if we feel like we need to be able to inspire others before we get that management position in a couple years, and that being a better public speaker would help with that, what steps can we take to become a better public speaker in the next 2 years? Can we take a class, attend a training program, or join a group like Toastmasters to help us with that? Keep adding these specific action steps to your plan for every area you feel like you want or need to work on. Don't forget to include the dates that you want to complete these steps by. Now you should have a few pages worth of well-defined actions you can take that will build on each other to get you all the skills and experience you need to achieve your goals and become the kind of leader you want to be. And like I said before, treat this leadership development plan as a roadmap and not a strict list of things to do in an exact order. If you're interested in learning one of the skills in your plan a little earlier than you had mapped out, go ahead and do it. Just like you can choose to go to your destinations on your trip in a different order than you planned, you can skip around within your plan if it makes the most sense to you. Also, don't be afraid to take a detour off your original roadmap if an interesting or intriguing opportunity to get some unique experience comes up and it's going to make you a better leader. Add that destination to your roadmap and broaden your horizons. If you found this helpful, please share it with a friend or coworker. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and click off on that globe to the right. That'll get you subscribed to our email list, and that'll bring all of our content direct to your inbox. If you have any leadership or business questions you'd like us to answer, reach out to us on social media or email us at info@evilgeniusleadership.com. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and remember, the future is out there.
Developing your leadership philosophy is one of the keys to becoming a great leader. Today I'm going to show you how to get started. Welcome back, and congratulations on taking one more step towards becoming one of the great leaders of tomorrow. Today we're going to dig a little bit deeper into developing your own personal leadership philosophy and leadership style, and what I really want to help you do is get a solid idea of the kind of leader you want to be. In order to do that, what we're going to do is start defining the types of leadership traits that you most want to exhibit in your daily interactions with other people. Now, we all have experience with leaders who have their own unique combination of traits. Some traits that are considered generally positive are honesty, authenticity, transparency, and selflessness. Some traits that you might consider negative are impatience, being a poor listener, being dishonest, or being secretive. All of the traits that a leader has in combination are what start to make up their own personal leadership style. As we start to develop your personal leadership style, we want to consciously choose traits that you're going to be able to exemplify every day in your interactions with other people. Now, you may be saying, this is starting to sound a lot like the core values discussion we've had in the past, and you're absolutely right. Great leaders know and understand that in order to truly live in their core values, they've got to exemplify traits and behaviors every day that are in alignment with those core values. To get you started figuring out what traits you'd like to have as part of your personal leadership style, I've got an exercise for you to do this week, and I call it Observe and Report. And what I want you to do is, as you're going about your daily business at work or in the community this week, I want you to record the traits that you see both good leaders and bad leaders in your communities have. It's always important to not just look at the successful side of things or the negative side of things, but to look at them in combination. So I want you to record in your leader's journal the traits that these successful leaders and these not so successful leaders have. And I want you to also record why you believe those traits make them a successful or unsuccessful leader. The nuance to this is you're going to find some successful leaders that probably have a few negative traits and some unsuccessful leaders that probably have a couple of good traits as well. One more thing I want you to consider as you're going around your communities is that not all leaders are official formal leaders. You'll probably experience in your travels around your community for the next week that there are some people who are informal leaders who don't have any authority over anyone, but are just kind of gathering them together and trying to help them all meet a common goal. And one of the things that I think is really important is you should record if these informal leaders are exhibiting different traits, both positive and negative, than the formal leaders in your community. Once you've gathered your information about the leaders in your community and their leadership traits, both positive and negative, it's time to make a list of the traits that you'd like to include in your leadership style and any negative traits that you'd like to make sure you leave out. Once your list is done, now comes the hard part. It's time to do an honest self-assessment about how well you exhibit and exemplify each of these traits. This can be really hard for a lot of us to do, so I recommend doing your own assessment, but then going to a trusted friend or colleague and asking them to assess you on the same things. Combine those assessments and see if there's any areas you need to work on. If you do find that there are areas you need to work on, make a plan on how you can do that. Think about some behaviors that you can exhibit every day to really exemplify those traits. And when you do come up with those behaviors and that plan of action, make sure you record it in your leader's journal and make it part of your daily practice to work on those things every single day. We'd love it if you'd share in the comments some of the traits you think make successful leaders. And if you're having a little bit of a problem coming up with a plan on how to work on some of those areas you feel like you might need improvement in, contact us. We'll be glad to help you out. Gonna have a blog later in the week talking more about leadership traits. And the best way to get a hold of that, click on that globe off to the right that says subscribe. That'll bring all of our content direct to your inbox. Thanks again for watching, and remember, the future is out there. Lead the way.